We have a local feel with a global reach. And you're just watching Out of Bounds with T Rex and his crew. And I welcome you. I'm T Rex. All right, everybody. Let's see who's going to show up first so we can get this thing started.
Hi.
Hey,
Hey,
Andrea,
family.
how you doing?
I'm doing great for a Sunday.
Okay, all right, looking great. Aunt T. Hey, Cheryl, how you
Hey,
doing?
everybody.
Happy Sunday, happy mental health.
Hey, JP, what's up, man?
Good evening. How's everyone doing tonight?
Just fine. What's up, Mr. Henry? How we doing today there?
Everything is good.
Just
Happy Sunday.
fine.
Happy
All right.
Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Here we go. All right, everybody. Our topic today is toxic masculinity and the impact, how it impacts women. So, fellas, why don't we go first and talk about what we think toxic masculinity is? Anybody ready?
Yeah. So when I
Uh,
first thought about this topic, you can hear me okay? Um,
yeah, I hear you
I just
fine.
really thought about childhood and being raised, and I think uh, inadvertently there are certain little clues that uh, kind of lead towards this toxic masculinity, and
Mhm.
particularly like a lot of times we as men are told, don't cry. You cry like a girl. You acting like a sissy. Uh,
Yeah.
and so at an early age, we're taught to kind of suppress those kind of feelings. Like if you're hurt, you cry.
Hmm.
But no, you don't want to be, perceived as a girl, which again leads to that whole attitude of toxic masculinity. So then when we get older, we get into relationships, and one of the things that we hear a lot of times is that we as men don't share our feelings. Well, we've kind of been doing this as a kid, since a child. So
Program. There you
it
go.
makes perfect sense that when you get into a relationship that you can't express yourself out of fear that you are being quote unquote less of a man.
I agree. I agree. Henry, you want to chime in on that before I say my piece and then turn it over to the ladies, see what they got to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a piggyback a little bit off of JP, but I'm gonna shed a different perspective on it. I have heard a lot of people say, you're a young man, you're a man, you're a young boy going into a man, and you should never say that you're sorry, because if you say that you're sorry, you're showing a sign of weakness. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't raised like that. uh, in our house, in my household, I do come from a two-parent household, and I have two sisters and two brothers, and uh, there
Mm-hmm.
was no difference shown between my sisters and or my brothers. And I have a daughter and I have a son, and I raised my daughter to be independent and to be strong, and don't depend on no man for anything. It's what I've taught her, and that's the way she is.
Okay.
She is a JAG officer in the United States Air Force, and doing very, very well. And hopefully, my
Outstanding.
son, he's about to be married. He will still instill those values in his children, and my daughter will, and her children as well. So that's just something that I didn't grow up into. We treated women with respect, with the utmost respect, and I carried on into my marriage that I have now. That's just the way that I am and what I grew up in and around.
Well, you and JP hit it on the head. Uh, as men, when we grow up, we are told uh, exactly what JP said and exactly what you said, and I think that's the difference. Because like if when my son was obviously born, he played with action figures. Well, back in the day, we didn't have action figures, so we couldn't play with dolls, so we didn't understand that. So I think most of the problem that with being the toxic masculinity is just from the era that our fathers came from. And I think that as a father, we changed that little. I changed it a little bit, not as drastic as Henry, but a little bit because I have 3 girls, and my last one's my son. But I also want everybody to understand that just because you raise like that, hopefully as we mature, we get a little better. Sometimes it takes us longer, but that's what happens. All right, ladies, chime in on that toxic.
Can I say
what
one
we were
thing
talking
real
about.
quick, sir? Real quick.
Go
Now,
ahead. Go ahead.
in the household that I grew up in was an old school household, dude. You know what I'm saying? And my dad wasn't the type that would tell you, "Hey, man, I love you. I love you." You know what I'm saying? We talk on the phone. We grew up and say, "I love you." But his actions showed that he loved me. Everything that he did, he provided for me and done. I guess you could say his light shined to where that I could see his love for the family, for my brother and my 2 sisters. Now, in my raising of my son, dude, every time I talk to him, I see him, I hug him, I love him, tell him I love him. You know, I kiss him on the forehead, and that's it. You know, it's just how difference in what how I was raised and what I'm raising him to be, or he's raising, and he'll raise his son to be.
Well, it's supposed to be generational, getting better, and especially with
Right.
new words that we can't say and can't say. So I agree with you, ladies. What do y'all consider the first part of we talked about toxic masculinity? Do you think that could be the cause in most men, or is there something else that you guys know that we don't know?
Well, I definitely think it's all around us. I think it's more hidden than we would like to think it is. When you think about children going to elementary school, all throughout their young early years, boys are allowed to do certain things, girls aren't allowed to do certain things. When you think about sports, when you think about, the line leader, when there's an emergency drill, you know what I mean? They give boys the certain task rather than handing them off to a girl. And a lot of that goes back to that toxic masculinity, where it may not be intentional, but that's just where we are as a culture to say that men are more capable of doing things rather than a woman. And most men will say, well, no, I treat women with respect. I have a mom. But then when you look into your own relationships, and the way you raise your boys versus your daughters, do you really allow that to happen? Are you the type of father that requires your son to take out the trash, but not your daughter? Or you only teach your son how to change a tire, but not your daughter? I'm one of 7 and of my dad's last 2. And he taught us how to change oil, change a flat tire, mow the lawn, so that we wouldn't have to rely on just a man, but he wanted all of his kids just to be treated equally.
Cool. That's
Well,
good.
I agree with you, Andrea. I think that everyone on that does have a daughter or more than one. I know for a fact I did it. Henry stated earlier he did it. I taught my daughters how to do it. I think my second to the oldest is probably the most reliable as far as working on a car and doing stuff of that nature. But she was my muscle while, little Terry was still little. She was my muscle. She helped me move furniture and things. But I'm 100% sure you're correct, because I did, when it came to discipline, I disciplined the girls a little different. So probably a lot less when I disciplined my son. All right, Cheryl, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. I like listening to what the men have to say on the topic. The way I feel that it has impacted women, especially right now, younger women, is through social media. There's a lot of negativity that these creators are using to say things like, women don't lead with your accomplishments. Like that's a bad thing. Don't just all these certain things that we're not supposed to do because now we're not feminine enough. So it's either we're a gold digger or we're using you. It's like, where's this happy medium? And I feel like that's the way that patriarchy has really just destroyed how we do things. we are built differently. Yes, we are. You're more muscular. We're not. But that doesn't mean that we can't work together and get the same goal accomplished. It shouldn't matter what our gender is. Um, I remember a quick story many years ago when we had a church picnic, and me and two of my other friends were trying to do the pop-up tent. And just by sheer height, I couldn't get it, just because I'm just too short. And so there were some men right next to us. And so I was like, hey, could you guys help us with this tent? And they literally told me, y'all are independent women. Why are you asking us for any help?
Wow.
So it's just this kind of stuff, and I'm like, wow, we're all in supposed to be church. We're not even like out in the world at a park. Like, this is a church picnic celebrating, however many years it was of us being a church. And you're literally telling us you're not going to help us because we're independent women. Like, first of all, we were not having a conversation with them about this. We were literally struggling, trying to do a pop-up tent.
Trying to get the tent up.
It's just ridiculous,
Like
and
my
even,
shirt says, Cheryl, Christian.
right. Yeah, Christian.
Yeah, that's it.
But I'm just like, man, what would Jesus do? I mean, it's just ridiculous. But that hurts my feelings the most, is that the men now, who are, I think, younger than all of us here, are really spewing this very patriarchy, toxic. I mean, you just can't win in these situations. I don't know how you win, So I'm tired of it. And as someone who talks for a living and has to solve problems, it's very difficult to have a relationship with a man who's not in touch with their feelings and can't really talk to me and really tell me what's going on. It's just a turn off.
Well, the key on what you said when you was talking about leading with your accomplishments, I think that those are just men that probably have a low self-esteem. If you tell them your accomplishments in life and what you have achieved, then it should be honored. I don't know. I'm sure it's true. And as far as the other part of your thing, I think you guys, you help me out here. I think that when we were growing up, we were told certain things like, don't date just one woman, don't take sand to the beach and all these things. And I think that is part of our masculine identity. And also, as for these young kids today, back to what Cheryl was saying, I mean, the music tells you what it is. I mean, back when we grew up, the music was not as explicit, telling women who they were and calling them different names and so forth and so on. So when you have that type of generation and you're really into the music, some men, probably about 80% of the young guys, get lost in that and think that every woman is what they say, a chicken head or whatever. And apparently when an intelligent woman leads with her accomplishments, he has no comeback. So help me out, guys. What do y'all think? Do y'all think that's the answer to, not the answer, because there's no answer. Is that helping better understanding of what Cheryl and Andrea was talking about, or can y'all chime in before we get to the next part?
I understand exactly what Cheryl was talking about, and Andrea, totally. I'm going to address the part that you stated here just a while back about dating multiple people. I was told to be open and honest with your person that you're involved with. Don't mislead them, misguide them, or anything like that. If you want to play, hey, this relationship that we're in is just strictly fun and games. If I see you for 2 weeks and that's what we're going to do, we're going to kick it, then that's it. Either you're going to go for it or you're not going to go for it. It's just that.
Right.
But if you are serious about a person, go into it wholeheartedly. You know what I'm saying? And be open and honest with your feelings and your communications. You got to be able to talk to a person. You got to be able to understand that person. And that's it. You know what I'm saying? Man, you got dogged out. Dude, if I went into it wholeheartedly honest and I enjoyed myself, I didn't get dogged out. I'm cool. It's just she didn't see the part of me that was the best of me. Vice versa. I didn't see the
That's
best part
true.
of her. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
no, I've never, and this, I'm probably the only person in the world that did this. I've never dated two different women. I'm saying dated, never dated two different women at one time. Now, were there people that, hey, okay, then that happened, okay, but and
You're
that
a
was it.
unicorn.
I'm sorry.
You're a
Yeah.
unicorn.
Okay. But that's it. So, but you know, I'll get off my soapbox to do because I could do this all night. So I'll JP.
Go ahead. Oh, all right. Let me get this in before I get back to you, JP. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to TAN TV, the African American work, where we have a local feel with a global reach. All right, JP. Chime in on what Henry said, and then we'll get the ladies an opportunity.
Yeah, so a lot of times, especially addressing these social media, I don't know, spurts of inaccurate knowledge. It's just insecurity. I feel that a lot of times someone takes things that they're insecure about, and they, especially a lot of times with men, they want to blast it on the women. I mean, if from social media um, to the pulpit to other politics,
Great one. That was a great one.
and it's just something that men do, pointing the finger as for taking that and saying, hey, this is something that I have to work on. And but it's easier just to point the finger or say, well, they don't need to be doing this, when just focus on yourself.
Right. You know what, JP, you hit it on the head when you said the bullpit. That should have flashed on with Henry too, because we was talking to one of our fraternity brothers that's a minister, and he doesn't allow women in the bullpit. So I think when we even go farther back, now that you brought that up, I think that's where the problem might have started, even farther back when women were just second citizens, and I think that could be the reason where still some of this toxic masculinity is rolling through, because it's falling over. I mean, the culture. I mean, excuse my French, but they call everybody a hoe or a bitch in these rap songs, and then you're saying it, and then they say I got 4 or 5, and then here's little Johnny thinking he can have 4 or 5 girlfriends, and then he doesn't care who he hurts until one of the brothers or the daddy beat him up. But that's just normally what happens. So I believe, and I'm gonna say this truthfully, I grew up, it was just 3 boys, so we all got treated the same, and we all got the same whoopings and all those same things. But I think the difference was my mom was very strong, and my grandma, and obviously everybody had a big mama, was very strong, but they were just the matriarchs. When it still came to the decisions of the real big decisions, most of the time it was either grandpa or daddy that made those decisions. And I can see where it's lost in treating the young ladies. I mean, these 2 here, I love with all my heart, and I try to treat them really respectfully, all of them. But and I just think that that's what you have to look forward to. So Cheryl or Andrea, give us another thing to try to overcome and get an explanation out from the man's point of view on let's just say the impact. What does negative, we already know what it does, but let's just talk about how it impacts a woman, not necessarily what the man does, but how does that stuff, other than what you guys stated earlier, how does it impact you?
Well, I can just, if you want to look at it professionally, women trying to climb the ladder, sometimes there's only a certain floor that they're level to floor that they are allowed to get to because of the men at the top. Even when you look at boardrooms, around that table is mostly men. And then if you want to look at that table even further, it's mostly white men, right? So women are just as successful in every field. But because of they're a woman, oftentimes men are intimidated by that. And like Cheryl mentioned, leading with your accolades, a woman could have as many degrees and professional certificates as possible, but may not be able to attain that certain level because a man is blocking it, because of that fear that she may be more successful at it, better at him, leading people differently. I think we kind of touched on it last week, but no war has been started by a woman.
Not
You
one.
know,
That is true.
if you
That
look
is
at
true. But
every
before you go, Andre, I got a question for you.
Mhm.
When you were talking, you said something about I forgot just that quick. That you had said something about how we treat women and all that. And I'm gonna go to Cheryl. Hopefully, I'll remember what I was gonna say. But go ahead, Cheryl. Go ahead. Let me write it
Well,
down next time.
and of course, I agree with my sister, but how does it impact us? Why are me and Andrea divorced? Why didn't our marriages work? Why are we not remarried? Well, in my case, I've been divorced a long time. Andrea, not as long as me. But I feel like a lot of that is because a lot of men don't really respect women. I mean, they want to have sex with us, but they really respect men. And they don't want to listen to what we have to say. Yeah, so that goes in the boardroom as well as in just one-on-one relationships. I'm tired of telling somebody, this is the expectation, this is what I want. And, they say, oh, no problem, I can do that. And can't even do that for like a month. I mean, and it's just basic communication, just telling me what's going on or whatever. It impacts us everywhere. Because of toxic masculinity and patriarchy, I don't feel safe. I said that before. We are seen as commodities. We are not seen as people. And I'm not saying the three of you see us this way. What I'm saying is men in general, because we are constantly being pushed, kicked down on as women. Why can't a woman buy birth control? I mean, there's been these instances where women went to go get their birth control at a pharmacy, and the person behind the counter is like, oh, no, I don't think you need that. Well, you didn't go to medical school, and just shut up. And these are other women who buy into toxic masculinity and patriarchy as well. During the time of when we had the election, there were several white women saying how women are not capable of leading. And I'm like, okay, you clearly don't know African history and women around the world who are running countries. It is ridiculous. It is this country that has bought into this patriarchal BS. It impacts all of us. When a woman is not uplifted, the whole community suffers. When a woman can't take care of her children because we can't get the money that we deserve, or I'm in education, they always feel like, oh, that's woman's work. So they don't pay enough. When is it that it's not important to raise up our next generation? Why is that not important? Teachers, social workers, nurses, us out there, we should be making a lot of money because everyone had a teacher. So it just hurts us all.
That is true.
I don't know if education or the profession of education is considered woman's work. My son is a world history teacher in Atlanta, Georgia, and as a male, I think they're missing the male views that they have. A lot of people in the district that he teaches in, the parents are sending those children for the school to raise them. And that is not the job of the school by any stretch of the imagination.
That is true.
But there are a lot of times that is the only father figure that those people will see in their lives. And that's a terrible situation. And one other aspect that you stated about marriage and so forth. I can't say why, but all I know is you cannot have an up without a down. You cannot have a good without a bad. Basically, what I'm saying is there's two sides to everything. So, granted, I've been married for 34 years, and the first 5 years of my marriage was like purely because she was used to doing everything on her own, and I was used to doing everything on my own. And then to try to come together as one. She's 2 years older than I am. I married at 28 and she was 30. And, it was just tough. But we've come together and God knows it is still a struggle from time to time. It is a job, but we try to keep
Well, it
God
is. It is
patient
a
in
job.
our lives to do what we do and keep an open line of communication. I have, no matter, I work crazy hours. I'm on the road again now. Um, but when I do come in, I have to make time for her. And she has to make time for me. I have to put me on the back burner of the relationship to make sure that she's satisfied. And she has to do the same to make sure that I'm satisfied in order for it to work. And so far it has worked. And it ain't perfect. It ain't perfect by any stretch of the imagination.
You know what, Hendry?
Yes, sir.
I agree with you. I don't mean to cut you off, but I agree with you. You know, I want to hit that point because I'm old. My memory goes. I agree with you. We don't appreciate our women as much as we should, and we don't respect them as much as we should. Even if if the bad word is housewife, uh, but she's
I
really
don't want
more
that
than just a
job.
housewife. Yeah. I mean that's a hard job. That's a
Yeah.
hard job. But we demeanor it. We let it go like it's not anything, so that we can say, "Oh, we're the breadwinners. We're all this," and the Cheryl about feeling safe and all that. Um, I, I just hope that I don't know if it's masculinity or just insanity that make men do most of the things that they do. I can't say that every guy is taught the same way to respect or disrespect a woman. Uh, I think it's all sometimes, even as parents, and y'all can look back to your parents if you're not a parent, and you can see that the difference is you may be raised properly, but just like everything else, and like Henry said, the school's trying to raise your children. When you get past that outside that door, your whole personality changes. So I think that could be a reason. And I think, I used to always say, honestly, if you dress like a hoe, you look like a hoe. If it's a duck, if it looked like a duck, it's a duck. That goes both ways. If your pants are sagging, you look like a gangbanger. If your dress is too short, you look like a hooker. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's how I was raised, and that's why I try to show my daughters so they can go out and be more respectful. So I'm gonna let that go with that. Do we want to go a little longer? Do we want to stay with our 30 minutes? That's my next question. We're good with the 30 minutes. Okay, so we're going to get the close out. We continue this next week because this topic right here, this is a great topic. We can talk about this for a couple of hours. So we'll do the same topic next week. Cheryl, we'll leave with you and go to Andrea. Then the fellas can say goodbye after that. So say your closing statement, and then we'll move on. We got about 2 minutes left before we have to cut off, but don't rush it. We can fluff over a little bit. Okay.
I just feel that this is a never ending discussion because none of us are raised the same.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my sisters,
Mm-hmm.
none of us turned out the same. And we were raised in the same household, and our parents were married, still married. I think this has nothing to really do as much with school as it does with socialization. And what my point to teachers was, I mean, I'm glad your son is in the field, Henry, but there are very few men in the field. And
Absolutely.
major reasons why is money.
Absolutely.
And it's not, in my opinion, really respected. So again, till we start respecting those of us who are in the trenches with our most vulnerable in society, this topic will never
Mm-hmm.
go away. So it has to
That is
be
true.
really on your shoulders as men to teach those coming up to be better. I don't know how me and Andrea can shoulder it, but it is up to y'all to do. I mean, I don't
That
know what
is true.
half the time men don't want to listen to anything we have to say anyway. So it's just difficult to do.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add what Cheryl said too. We can't shoulder it. We all come into this world. Well, we should come into this world with the same equal footing. Unfortunately, we don't. But as far as men and women dynamics and the way to make it better is just to teach each other and lean on each other. As men and women, when we see something, like when you're in the airport, when you see something, say something. So when you see something that may be come off as sexist towards a man or towards a woman, be a part of that change so that we could all live equally.
Good one. JP.
I would say, just continue to keep the lines of communication open. Um, one of the biggest pitfalls is to close up or harbor your feelings, or scared you're going to offend the other person. It's just I would say definitely just keep the lines of communication open, and be open for constructive criticism, um, to one, learn better yourself, but also to project that on to others, so that your criticism can help someone else as well.
All right, Henry.
I agree and totally. I think JP hit it on the head. But I would say the biggest factor, man, is respect. And know that Andrea is the queen that she is. Know that Cheryl is the queen that she is, and respect them with that, and show them that, and treat them with that utmost respect. Respect as the person, it's earned, given, and all of that, man. And you just got to know that there's no differences. And that's probably a hard pill to swallow, but it can change. There's a lot of changes in society that we have come through as a people, and this is one that we've got to overcome as a nation, not only in the African American or Black culture, but as in the European culture as well. And once we realize that, then it will get better. But it won't until we start respecting and loving and treating everybody the way that they are.
Well, I agree with everybody, and I think, from my point of view, I think the reason that we have these type of conversation is men. It's not, we got the big shoulders. That's just shoulderly. We're the problem. We think that we watched our daddies, and if we had a daddy that was a little slick or sly, we became a little slick or sly. And I think that's what the problem is. I think I look at uh, guys who had a dad that didn't cheat and things like that. He wasn't a cheater. So I think that's what it was. So um, I think we're going to say good night tonight, but I think we're going to talk about the next week. We're going to say the same things. We're just going to add one thing to it. We're going to talk about the impact of divorce, what men do to impact that. And so I say that. So with that being said, hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in to TAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel, global reach. And we're really glad that you took time out your day to watch us outside the box, out of bounds. I'm sorry, that's my other show, Out of Bounds with T-Rex and the crew. And we're going to keep this thing rolling and talk about it a little more in depth, probably off, and then we'll see what kind of stuff we get. So everybody, peace out, much love, and we'll holler at you next Sunday and talk about what we're starting to talk about today for the whole month. It's Women's Month. Respect your women, fellas. Respect your women. Women, put hands on them if they don't. No, I'm just playing. Make them respect them. All right, bye-bye.